الله رب العالمين وصلاة ربي وسلامه ورحمته وبركاته على ذاك النبي الكريم نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. As we concluded and mentioned about who Ahmed ibn Ali al-Badawi, as you see that, brothers and sisters, that is sad in some of the countries, the Muslim lands, of how misguidance have taken over a lot of places based upon customs and traditions, but not looking at the reality of affairs because of lack of hirs, or lack of diligence upon learning beneficial knowledge, how it can lead a person down the road of misguidance. Al-Jahl, how ignorance can lead one, even from the common folk, down a road of misguidance. If he's not learning and acquiring beneficial knowledge and acquiring it at the hands of the correct people who are trustworthy, how can lead a person down the road of destruction, misguidance, and deviation, and something that will nullify your Islam, because these people are committing shirk, committing polytheism with Allah, which is the ultimate oppression. And this act that they're committing is something that will nullify the Islam, and to the point, who will want to meet Allah to be with the Allah upon shirk? Out of all the different types of acts out there, like we talked about, and I mentioned this on many occasions, that you can try to put in your mind the most horrific or terrible thing of what can be done to any individual here on this planet, on this world. Let's just say, for example, and I hate to give an example, but example, let's just say of murdering and killing and theft, or just say murdering someone, or even someone being intimate with his mother, or someone killing innocent little children and infants, hundreds of them, or thousands of them, unjustly. Everybody in their mind is looking like this, like, that's terrible. Shirk is worse than that. Polytheism is worse than that. Polytheism is worse than homosexuality. Polytheism is worse than murder. Polytheism is worse than killing millions of infant children unjustly. Shirk and polytheism is worse than that. The human being would never want to meet his Lord, and he has on his scales, or has on his on what was recorded, what he did in this world, polytheism. A person could that he would meet Allah upon all wickedness of sins, rather than meet Allah with the Allah upon shirk. It's better for him to meet Allah in that state than meet Allah with the Allah upon major polytheism, or polytheism in general. But major polytheism is something, like we know, as Allah with the Allah is clearly said, unforgivable. If you die upon it, Allah will not forgive it. But other than that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives for whom He wills. For what we said, Ya Ma'ashal Ikhwa, as we talked, oh man, I closed the book. As we said, and talked about the ayah, as you'll find at the great Imam that he put in his book, the ayah where it says, there's no one that's more astray. If you look in your books, you look in the book in the ayah, well, Allah Ta'ala says, there's no one who is more astray, who is more astray than the one who invokes besides him, of who cannot answer him all the way up to the day of resurrection. And they are heedless of their call, meaning that which is from the idols, are totally unaware of those who are invoking them and asking them and worshiping them. Excuse me for 1 second, everyone. I'm trying to get to my page. I'll close my book. Now, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has clarified in His book that everything that's worshipped in this world, of what is created, is totally unaware of the people worshiping them. And as we discussed last class, that every single last one of those idols will flip against them, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will allow certain objects of what we can perceive as inanimate objects. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of resurrection will allow them to talk. Even people who are from the human beings, likewise, who is worshiping this world, will flip against those who are worshiping them. All of it will become enmity and denial, where they will say they are totally heedless and inadvertent, and they were totally unaware of the people worshiping them. As this is the reality, as we discussed last class, of Jesus, the son of Mary. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us clearly what's going to happen on the day of resurrection, clearly, without any type of obscurity or anything being unclear. Allah laid it down, His final revelation of what's going to take place on the day of resurrection in detail. He talked about how Jesus is going to bring Him and His mother both together. Bring them and tell them in front of the people, did you tell the people to take you as deities besides Him, subhanahu wa jalla fil ula? And they're going to deny it. As all of them are going to reject that call, meaning the call of worshiping of Jesus, the Son of Mary, or His mother. All of them is going to flip and deny it. And also the ayat in the book of Allah about the angels likewise. All of these affairs in which you'll find that they will reject and set themselves free from their worshippers in this world. To the point where the people who are worshiping them, meaning those idols, or those righteous, or those wretched, and even Shaitan himself is going to reject on the day of resurrection that their benefit of worshiping him in this world will have no benefit in the hereafter. Rather, it will drive all their followers to the punishment in the evil hell of what Allah has prepared for those who die upon polytheism. So all those matters, like we said, even Shaitan himself is going to free himself from those who used to worship him in this world. Every single last object, or human being, or jinn, or malaika, and the angels, every single last one of them will all deny and reject the people worshiping them on the day of resurrection. Every single last one of them, without any exception. Because all the worship of them is all unacceptable, and it's all considered polytheism, no matter whether it's a person who's righteous or a person who's wretched, or a person who's alive or a person who's dead, or an inanimate object, whether it be a tree or a rock or whatever, or what we perceive that has no life in it. All of it, they will flip against them on the day of resurrection, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has proven in His last final revelation that no one can tamper with or alter or change that in detail, showing exactly what's going to take place and accurately of what's going to happen on the day of resurrection. So what, after this clarity, does people need to know what's going to happen on the day of resurrection when Allah clarified it in His final revelation? What happened, of course we know. Let me just give one example. Allah Ta'ala says in His book, إذ تبرأ الذين اتبعوا من الذين اتبعوا ورأوا العذاب وتقطعت بهم الأسباب وقال الذين اتبعوا لو أن لنا كرة فنتبرأ منهم كما تبرأوا منا كذلك يريهم الله أعمالهم حسرات عليهم وما هم بخارجين من النار. He says, hence, those who was worshipped in this world from the idols or whoever it is, إذ تبرأ الذين اتبعوا من الذين اتبعوا. Those who was followed will separate themselves from those who followed them, or those who worship them. And they're going to see the punishment of Allah coming at them, and all the love that they had and connection will be cut off. I mean, it's going to flip into enmity. And those who used to worship them in this world will say, if we were only given another chance, we will free ourselves from them just as they freed themselves from us. And Allah Ta'ala will show them their actions. And then in that particular moment in time, there will be severe regret and remorse, because now the people are going to hell. There's nothing more after that now. There is no other chance. You can't return back to the world. None of it. It's done. كذلك يريهم الله أعمالهم حسرات عليهم وما هم بخارجين من النار. And they will never come out of hell once they enter it. Why? Because of what they fell into, the most ultimate crime, which is what? Polytheism. Same thing with the angels, same thing. Allah has mentioned ayahs how the angels will separate themselves from those who used to worship them. Jesus, the Son of Mary, and his mother, also likewise will separate themselves. Also likewise the jinn. Rather, the angels are going to establish that the majority of the people in this world used to worship the jinn and the shayateen. As the angels will say that. As Allah Ta'ala will also say and bring the malaika forth and say to them, He says, أَهَؤُلَاءِ إِيَّاكُمْ كَانُوا يَعْبُدُونَ قالوا سبحانك أنت ولينا من دونهم بل كانوا يعبدون الجن بل أكثرهم بهم مؤمنون فاليوم لا يملك بعضكم لبعض نفعا ولا ضرا ونقول للذين ظلموا ذوقوا عذاب النار الذي كنتم بها تكذبون. The angels are going to say, notice that Allah is going to bring all these people and ask them, even the angels, are you the ones who they said to worship? You? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to address this to the angels. أَهَؤُلَاءِ إِيَّاكُمْ كَانُوا يَعْبُدُونَ. Was it you who they used to worship? They say, glory be to you. You are their wali, their protector besides us. أَنْتَ وَلِيُّنَا مِن دُونِهِمْ. Excuse me. that you're the wali besides them. Rather, they used to worship the jinn, the shayateen, the jinn. Majority of them in this world, they used to believe in them. Majority of the people in this world used to believe in them, in the jinn. So the angels realized that what they were doing also likewise in error. And the most hideous and the most evilest of all of our enemies, Shaitan himself, is also going to reject the worship of the people on the day of resurrection. Likewise, same thing. Allah Ta'ala says in Surah Ibrahim. He says, وَقَالَ الشَّيْطَانُ لَمَّا قُضِيَ الْأَمْرُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَعْدَكُمْ وَعْدَ الْحَقِّ وَوَعَدْتُكُمْ فَأَخْلَفْتُكُمْ وَمَا كَانَ لِي عَلَيْكُمْ مِنْ سُلْطَانٍ إِلَّا دَعَوْتُكُمْ فَاسْتَجَبْتُمْ لِي فَلَا تَلُومُونِي وَلُومُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ ما أنا بمصرخكم ما أنا بمصرخكم وما أنتم بمصرخي إني كفرت بما أشركتموني من قبل إن الظالمين لهم عذاب أليم. Shaitan is going to say it himself. He says the Shaitan, Iblis, is going to say when the affair has now been concluded, it's over, on the day of resurrection. Shaitan is going to say, verily Allah promised you the promise of truth. So Shaitan knew about Tawheed, he knew about Sunnah, he knew about correct methodology, unification of Allah, Allah existence, Allah deserving to be worshipped. Shaitan knew about all of that. Allah promised you the promise of truth. I promise you, and I betray my promise. وَعَدْتُكُمْ فَأَخْلَفْتُكُمْ. I promise you a promise, and I betray my promise. I take it back. I had no power over you except that I called you to it. You answered me. فَاسْتَجَبْتُمْ لِي. Don't blame me, blame yourselves. I cannot save you, you cannot save me. ما أنا بمصرخكم وما أنتم بمصرخي. Now listen to what Shaitan says. I disbelieve of what you set up with partners along with Allah with me. Shaitan is establishing what? That he knows about Tawheed, what is ibadah, what's the correct worship, all of that. Verily those who are mushrikeen, the zalimeen who are mushrikeen, polytheists, they will have a terrible torment. So Shaitan denies on the day of resurrection of those who are worshiping them in this world that you're going to have the ultimate humiliation waiting for you on the day of resurrection. How can you put someone in trust who has promised that he's going to be your enemy from the time of old up to now, that you now want to now put your trust in someone like that and really think that ultimately in the end it's going to be something positive or something that is going to be survival or pleasurable or enjoyable waiting for you in the end? So all of these is to show what, everyone? On this ayah, you'll find in your book that all of the affairs or all of the things that exist in this world are totally unaware of the people worshiping them in this world right now. None of them know. Rather, you'll find that Ahl Ilm mentioned, and likewise, Ibn al-Qayyim, as we're going to bring his speech right now, that all of them have unanimously said that every person that dies, all of them are either in a grave, busy with their own what? Outcome. Everybody under that dirt is busy with their own outcome based upon what they put forth of actions in this world. They're busy. Everyone's busy. They're going to either be busy because we know that the grave is either rawdatu min riyad al-jannah or hufratu min hufar al-nar. It's either a garden, as we know that Imam Ahmed said in Usul al-Sunnah, that the grave is either what, everyone? It's a garden from the gardens of bliss or paradise, or it's a pit from the pit of hell. So a person in his grave is what, everyone? He's busy with his own affair of what he has put forth of actions in this world. He's busy. So how do you think he's aware of what's going on in this world? So this is the reality for every human being. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us a good ending. But that is the reality of every human being in this world. He's either in that grave, busy with his own affair, in his own reality, in his own what? In his own state that he's in which he died upon. He's in that and he's busy. And he's totally unaware of what's taking place in this world. And that's a refutation against those who what? Who worship, which is created in this dunya. Especially of the people, whether they be righteous or wretched. Because every single last one of them are what? Are busy in their grave. And we also talked about how the shaitan comes to these people, especially those who are righteous, and some of them wretched from the Sufiya, decorating to them of the status they possess. Some of them fell into the trap where shaitan came to them in a vision or a dream, as we said, and said to them that you have attained a high status where I'm your Lord, and all the obligations have been removed from you, all the duties of Islam. And to the point, like we said, that some of them knew that it was the shaitan. From them was Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, as we mentioned in the previous class. So in these ayat, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, you'll find that it says clearly in your book that what? Even in the next ayah, if you read, it says what, everyone? When the people will be gathered, then those idols and everything that was worshipped besides Allah will become enemies to their worshippers. And they will be kuffar, they will totally deny and reject them worshipping them on the day of resurrection. Every single last one of them. Our ultimate humiliation's disgrace is to think that you're doing something here in this world and it's correct. You think totally and oblivious to the reality of what is going to be the outcome. That is the ultimate humiliation and the ultimate disgrace. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in so many different ayat. It's where one ayah where it says in his book, هَؤُنَبِئُكُمْ بِأَخْسَرِينَ أَعْمَالًا الَّذِينَ ضَلَّ سَعْيُهُمْ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَهُمْ يَحْسَبُونَ أَنَّهُمْ يُحْسِنُونَ صُنْعًا. Allah ta'ala says in his book, will I not inform you of the most greatest of losers? بِالْأَخْسَرِينَ أَعْمَالًا. Those are greatest losers as far as in their deeds. He says those that what they set out, their efforts in this dunya, and they went astray. And they really thought what they were doing was something correct. You know, brothers and sisters, about what's the tafsir of that ayah, Surah Al-Kahf? You know what the tafsir of them are? You'll be surprised. One of the tafsir of Ali ibn Abi Talib said the Khawarij. He said Ahlul Harura, but he didn't use the word Khawarij, he used Ahlul Harura. He said the people of Harura, who's the Khawarij. So he said from them was the people Bid'ah. And from them was the Khawarij. He used the people Harura. Harura was the Khawarij. He said from them was the Khawarij. But we know the general meaning, likewise, is for those in this world. Likewise, from those in this world who set out and thinking they're doing something correct, and on the day of resurrection they find that their deeds are like scattered dust. In which Allah Ta'ala says, and which we recite in Surah Al-Ghashiyah every Friday. And a lot of people don't really truly know the meanings of it. We hear it sounds beautiful, but if you ponder on the meanings, it's very, very scary. Allah Ta'ala says, عَامِلَةٌ نَاصِبَةٌ تَصْلَى نَارًا حَامِيَةً تُسْقَى مِنْ عَيْنٍ آنِيَةٍ. He says there will be people who's working very hard, doing good deeds and worship and all this, and they still be burned in hell. عَامِلَةٌ نَاصِبَةٌ تَصْلَى نَارًا حَامِيَةً. He says they will be تَصْلَى نَارًا حَامِيَةً, working very hard, thinking they're drawing close and they're doing something correct, they'll be burned in hell. And he said they will be given a boiling spring to drink from. All because they didn't fulfill what was correct, of it being, number one, upon monotheism, of Tawheed. And also likewise it being in accordance with what the Prophet ﷺ legislated. It's the ultimate humiliation. Especially people, like we said, they feel they're doing something right. Then they come on the day of resurrection, like we said, and find the ultimate betrayal when Jesus, the Son of Mary, will come and deny it. Or, as it says in the narration of Bukhari, that there will be a shaitan that will be in the form of the image of Isa, Jesus, the Son of Mary. And that shaitan will be in the image of Isa until he leads them to the hellfire, and then they will what? Then they will drop upon them, and they will fall into hell. Ultimate humiliation, disgrace. The Prophet ﷺ, his final messenger, Allah Ta'ala's final messenger, giving us clear details of how the day of resurrection is going to play out. So that's the reason to be an incentive for us to what to prepare, which is to remain steadfast upon monotheism and stay steadfast upon the sunnah, and to keep and constantly ask Allah Ta'ala for proper guidance. Because Allah Ta'ala has said in the authentic hadith, as we know, it says, Ya ibadi kullukum dallun illa man hadaytu fasdahduni ahdikum. O my servants, all of you are misguided, except whom I have guided. Ask for my guidance, I will guide you. Ask for my guidance, and I will guide you. Meaning, the knowledge of the details of Islam comes only from learning, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only gives tawfiq to certain people, to inspire them to know the importance of seeking knowledge, in order for it to be a barrier and a protection from them falling into misguidance. So they won't be from those who on the day of resurrection who will be disgraced and humiliated out of their feelings and emotions, thinking they're doing something good, but however, it is something totally unacceptable and rejected. As Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala also says in another ayah where He says, Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, وَقَدِمْنَا إِلَى مَا عَمِلُوا مِنْ عَمَلٍ فَجَعَلْنَاهُ هَبَاءً مَنْثُورًا. He said, we will bring forth their actions on the day of resurrection, and we will make it like scattered dust. We'll make it like scattered dust. They'll think they're coming on the day of resurrection, real happy, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it like scattered dust. Why? Because of ultimate disgrace. They didn't accept what was the correct message, and they did not follow it. And like we talked about on many occasions, brothers and sisters, what Ibn al-Qayyim says in that tremendous, profound speech, where he said, rahimahullah, whoever Allah ta'ala keeps steadfast upon the bridge in this dunya, He will keep him steadfast and firm upon the bridge over hell in the hereafter. What is the bridge in this world? Meaning the correct straight path of Salafiyya, Islam, and the correct understanding of it, the correct interpretation of it, the correct methodology of it, the proper belief. If Allah keeps you firm upon that bridge, meaning that which is a proper guidance, a proper knowledge, and if Allah keeps you firm upon that, Allah will keep you firm upon the bridge over what? Over hell. Meaning that Allah will keep your belief intact by asking His help. And also you given tawfiq to also bear the fruits of that knowledge, which is the righteous actions. Because everything in this world and in the hereafter ties in together. What you do in this world will affect you in the hereafter. And all of it dwells around your belief system and your righteous actions, no more, no less. Everything what takes place in the grave, and everything that takes place on the day of resurrection revolves around your belief system and your actions. That's it, no more, no less. Allah Ta'ala is not going to ask whether you're a black person in this world, white person in this world, an Arab in this world, a non-Arab in this world, were you from the ghetto, were you from the rich neighborhoods, whether you were from this background, whether you were from this ethnicity, whether you were from this country, all of that is irrelevant on the day of resurrection. All of it goes out the door. No fruit, no what value whatsoever. Absolutely irrelevant. The only thing Allah will ask you for, He will examine your belief system and your righteous actions. Because if your belief system is intact in this world, then your righteous actions are going to be intact. Because your belief system, once it's rectified, is going to bear the fruits of it, which is what, everyone? Your righteous actions. That's it, no more, no less. Allah has kept it simple for all of us to understand. Not all these different stupid calls out here. You know, He's Jesus, you know, the bunny of the tribe of Judaism is a black man. He was the original man of this. Well, yeah, at the end of the day, when you die in the grave, this is not what Allah is going to ask you. Stop wasting our time. We want to deal with what is going to take place as soon as I'm put under that dirt. What is going to be the reality? What's it going to start with? It's going to start with who's your Lord, who's your prophet, what's your religion? No more, no less. Busy me with that, because that's what's preparing me for that reality coming that can happen at any given time. During our sleep, when we walk out that door, in our car, in the traffic, as soon as anything can happen, bang, that's it. Then usul al-thalath and everything you learn in Kitaab At-Tawheed starts to become a reality now. Your qiyamah started that fast by just mere death. That's it. No more, no less. All the stupid nonsense and the dumb calls out here about the black man and the shaitan and the white man is the devil, all that is irrelevant. All that Allah Ta'ala is going to ask and examine your belief. Look at your heart, your belief. And after that, your good deeds. No more, no less. And your evil actions are good. And your evil actions. That's what's going to be and it's going to affect you. In this world as well as in the hereafter. Simple. Notice Aqidah Salafiyya is simple. Done. As soon as I said it, 2 words. Your belief system, righteous actions. No more, no less. So that's the thing we need to be what? Rectified. Right or wrong? It's clear as the sun in the sky. Allah made it simple. We don't have to get now into details because Allah made the most important of affairs the most simple to understand. Your belief system, your righteous actions. All this other nonsense, so you know, He was the first man that was created was black and he had this hair and all that. All that's irrelevant. At the end of the day, and I ask all these people, Nation of Islam, and ask them and challenge them, what are you doing now? What is these cars doing now? Nothing. Our youth are being putting bullets in their heads by the thousands every year. You sum up all the cities in America, maybe over 10,000 youth are killed in this country. It's a war here. And none of these calls are working. None of them. You get Delaware, Philly, St. Louis, Atlanta, all the youth are being slaughtered in the street. None of these calls are working. Every year, Over 5,000, 8,000 children killed, bullets in their head. Cars ain't working. All that, and then you want to sell out. All this other nonsense, and then you want to crowd, let's all pray together, all the different denominations of religions. All that's not doing except making matters worse. Because you're not standing for the truth. You're just watering down, compromising for some money. Because that's what you care about at the end of the day. So that's what we say, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, in regards to what the affairs that's going to take care or affect the hereafter. This is the reality that Allah Ta'ala has clearly said in His book. When the people will be gathered, all of these things that are worshipped will flip and become enemies. But however, now when the people will wish to come back to the dunya and now try to make it right, it's too late. Done. Fine. You'll notice in the next ayah, we can talk about that. Ibn al-Qayyim had gave a tremendous benefit from the mannerisms of dua, and I will stop here. You'll find in the ayah, he was talking about a story of the last ayah, which is in Surah Al-Isra. This is just the last benefit. We'll stop here. Allah subhanahu jalla fil ula jalla dhikruh. The ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in His book, call on Allah or call Him Rahman. أَيًّا مَا تَدْعُ فَلَهُ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى. No matter who you call Him by, what name you call Him or invoke Him by, verily belongs to Him is the most beautiful names, or the best names. طيب. We know that this ayah was revealed in regards to what? In regards to the mushrikeen. When they heard the Prophet ﷺ invoking Allah and calling on Allah, saying, Ya Allah. Then in another statement, they heard the Prophet ﷺ say, Ya Rahman. So they tried to play a game, and they said, so you calling on two different deities? So you calling on two different deities. So listen to what all the games in the falsehood, like we said, the Quran, keep in mind everyone, the methodology, the Quran that is filled with refutations against all falsehood. Every falsehood that the polytheists or anyone try to use to cause confusion in the people's minds or in their belief, Allah sent down an ayah, what? Setting it straight. So he said, Ya Muhammad, that's what they used to call him in disrespect to him. He said, you say Allah, then you say Rahman. So that means that you're what? Calling on two separate deities. Allah sent down the ayah. قُلِ ادْعُوا اللَّهَ أَوْ ادْعُوا الرَّحْمَنَ أَيَّمَّا تَدْعُوا فَلَهُ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى فَلَا تَجْهَرْ بِصَلَاتِكَ وَلَا تُخَافِتْ بِهَا وَابْتَغِ بَيْنَ ذَلِكَ سَبِيلًا وَقُلِ الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ الَّذِي لَمْ يَتَّخِذْ وَلَدًا وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ شَرِيكٌ فِي الْمُلْكِ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ وَلِيٌّ مِنَ الذُّلِّ وَكَبِّرْهُ تَكْبِيرًا. Allah Ta'ala sent down the ayah in His book in Surah Al-Isra. He said in the last part, He says, call either Allah or call Him Rahman. Which one you invoke Him by, for verily He belongs to Him, all the beautiful names. So all of them is invoking what? One deity. So Ibn al-Qayyim goes on to say about this. This is what he says. He says, فَظَنَّ الْمُشْرِكُونَ أَنَّهُ يَدْعُو إِلَهَيْنِ فَأَنزَلَ اللَّهُ هَذِهِ الْآيَةِ ذكر هذا عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما وقيل إن الدعاء هنا بمعنى التسمية والمعنى أي اسم سميتموه به من أسماء الله تعالى. He says, so the mushrikun thought the Prophet ﷺ was invoking two separate deities. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down this ayah. And it was mentioned upon Ibn Abbas and other than him. It was said that dua, specifically here, it means calling on a specific name. Just listen. Meaning that any name that you call Him of the beautiful names that's been affirmed upon Allah, they call Him by it. Either Allah, Rahman, Ghafoor, Ghaffar, to the end of it. Right, everyone? Rahim, to the end of it. طيب. He said, فَلَهُ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى وَهَذَا مِنْ لَوَازِمِ الْمَعْنَى فِي الْآيَةِ وَلَيْسَ هُوَ عَيْنُ الْمُرَادِ بل المراد بالدعاء معناه المعهود المضطرد في القرآن وهو دعاء السؤال ودعاء الثناء. He says, however, this is from what this meaning necessitates in the ayah. He says that this is not what's intended. What is intended is that Ibn al-Qayyim is just trying to establish the two categories of dua that we've been talking about for the past couple of lessons. He said, what is intended here in the Quran is what? Is dua of asking and dua of what? Of worship itself. Of worship itself. Then he mentions our last benefit, and I'm going to stop here. He says, then Allah Ta'ala also mentions in another ayah, in another verse, He says, Udu'u rabbakum tadarru'a wa khufya. Make dua to your Lord with humbleness and in secret, meaning keeping your voice low when you make a dua, when you're asking him. All right? Listen to one of the benefits that he mentioned and said, the great Imam, Al-Hasan al-Basri, rahimahullah. Listen to what Al-Hasan al-Basri mentioned and says, he says, بين دعاء السر ودون العلانية 70 ضعفا. He says, the differences between supplication of secret and supplication done openly, he says, is 70 levels. 70 ضعفا, of what is increasing double by 70. He says, the Muslimun during the time of old was diligent and hardworking and making dua. He says, until it was not heard from them a voice, except whispers between them and their Lord. So the fact that a person makes dua secretly is better than when what? Than one say, oh Allah, help me, oh Allah, oh help me, and my life is going, is it chaotic right now? Can you help me and solve the problems? What's going on in my life, please? It's better to do it secret because it shows, it manifests. What is the reason why you think that Hasan al-Basri is mentioning this? Because when you do it secretly, you are affirming the other complete attributes of Allah, which is what? He's all knowledgeable, He's all aware, He's all hearing, He's able to answer, all those other affairs. That's why he said it's better than what? Doing it loud. Because you're now showing that you're not acknowledging the other attributes of what? Of showing his might and his power and his domination. Like there's no need to do it what? Loud. Do it quietly, and Allah Ta'ala is showing the other complete attributes that he possesses. Of him being all hearing and being the closest. And when we say closest, do we mean in his essence? In his knowledge. Ahsantum. In his knowledge and his awareness to the end of it. He's all close. He's close. He's all knowledgeable. He's all aware. He's able to answer. This manifests when you do it quietly. In contrast to when you do it what? Loudly. Even though there are certain instances in the sunnah, but we have to follow the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ when you could do a type of dhikr loud. But initially of what is pertaining to yourself, of course, then we know, especially affairs that's taking place in everyone's life individually, when you make dua to Allah, it's best that you do it what? In secret. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? All right, we'll stop here. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Any questions about the lesson? تفضل.